Thing is, at that time and all, Japan was the big steel maker. They had the big blast furnaces, like what was built at Redcar. But the point is, when they opened Redcar up, Japan was shutting them down, the big blast furnaces, and going back to the little ones. And the reason they were doing that was because there was a glut in the world, and they thought, we're operating these at this, and it's just pointless. What Sidebottom told us all this, sitting having a talk with them. And
20 years after the first one.
And it shows you the same that way. As soon as it set that thing away, they had nothing but teething troubles for years, for the first few years.
Yeah, but I mean,
But the trouble was, we could put a furnace off.
Yes.
We could run, if our production was down, we could put one on steam and run 2 furnaces.
Yeah.
Whereas if they shut that one down, it went from 100% production to nil.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we survived for so long, because we could use it. But I think somebody said the other week as well, our future was taken out of our hands. Yeah. It was transferred to Glasgow, into Middlesbrough, and they were dictating. That's why the plate mill closed. I mean, Joe Hagan would talk with Andy about it. He talked to people in plate sales. They were pulling their hair out. We had all the special steels, we had it in slab form. The orders never got put on concert. We were rolling quarter-inch ship plate for Swan Hunters, which you never made any money out of, and that was the justification they used to close the plate mill. Yeah. But all our special steels that we made, and nobody else could make them, and as we said the other week, they were sending people from Teesside to learn after we were announced they couldn't make them. And we Spartan Redruff, we rolled all their stainless steel at the plate mill. Only mill in the country could roll stainless steel slabs. Nobody else could do it when the concert closed down.
Do you know, I think it was part of a wider picture though, you know what I mean? There's the related heavy industries. Clearly Thatcherism wanted to do that. I mean, if you have a look at economics as well, you have to remember that Thatcherism came in, and started to, do the financial deregulation and all of that. That started under Thatcher and Reagan. And if you have a look at that, all the heavy industry, she wanted to attack the unions, and she did in short order, finishing with a miners' strike of 84-85. But you started off, you had them 3 related disciplines, it seems to me, the steelworks, the shipbuilding, you can have a look at the pallion and all of that, you can, Vickers Armstrong and all that, and then, the steel, the coal mines and all that, and then they were going for a financial services industry, and you've seen what happened to that in, 2008. That's where that led us.
What I said last week, we were a member of the AAC, and they were actually sending directives on how much steel should be produced in the European community.
Yeah.
And Italy, Germany, France, Spain, they were all told to cut back, but they didn't. The government at the time directed, and they started to shut the steelworks down here, and then they started to produce more in the other European countries. So it wasn't just the Tory government at the time, it was also the EEC, which actually had a major impact on the steel production throughout the whole of the community. And we kowtowed to the directives that they sent. If we hadn't stuck our gun in like we are sticking in at present and putting our backs up against the EEC the way they're running things now, I don't think we would have been in the situation that we've arrived in.
Maggie Thatcher, I know what you're saying, she agreed to the steel cuts in this country, and the common market, as you say, it didn't cut back. But a few years after that, she was approached again. Another directive went out through Europe, and they were told to cut back. And they said to Thatcher, you cut back. And she says, no, we've cut back, sort your lot out. She refused. She cut the order back that Europe said, Germany makes so much, Italy so much. They didn't, as you said. And she told them, go and get stuffed. I'm no Thatcher lover, but I'd rather have the facts right. What I read was, she turned around and says, no, we've done our cut back, you do yours. We ain't cutting back.
But
and that was...
The damage was done by then.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you've also got to remember that we're talking about tonnes per man. I mean, the technology, even from 63 when I went, going from the melting shop to the oxygen steel plant, and that's just concert. We could make steel 100 tonne at a time quicker than 4 or 5 furnaces could. So the technology, so the steelworks were making more steel quicker with less men for less demand. And unfortunately, whether it was unions or techniques, even after 80, the steel you could buy from abroad shipped in to the time was cheaper than what we could send it out the door at concert.
Can I come in again on that?
And that's Italy, India, China, because they don't have the regulations that we had at concert. And I mean, I think some of our plate mill went to Africa or South Africa or somewhere, and they were using our second-hand parts because it's like years ago when there was 10,000 people working at the steelworks, there were 2 a penny. In Africa, China, Japan, they do it. We know what the strike's like. There's no disrespect to the shipyards. I used to work in the shipyards. The same thing happened down the shipyards. You get on about Southern shipbuilders. I know why Southern shipbuilders went to the war. Because you had to walk on them when they got that big, massive order. It was workmanship. And people say, oh, the unions caused it, or it caused down. There was plenty of demand there. They got an order for about 20 small ships. We were working on them. They were absolutely terrible. The company took the order off them. And yeah, you've got to balance that with new technology, more production for less demand. And as I said before, we were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That was the main reason.
You're coming back on the tonnage per man. When was it Germany and Japan on their production, I don't know over what period it was, but they were saying 200 tons per man was their score. It could be weekly or what, I don't know. And it says Concert was only 150 tons per man. But what nobody bloody realised, and what the government weren't saying was, in Germany, that was based on production workers only. Fitters were outside contractors. The canteen, outside contractors. All of those figures were included in the average of hours. So naturally ours came down to 150. When you took them out of it and worked it out again, Concert was 250 a man. I'm saying, so that you had a plant there which was matching the world. I know we're bumping it up again, but that was it. I'm saying, a canteen worker, what do they produce? Sandwiches. They're saying, oh, 150 tons per man, or woman if it's the canteen. You know, the figures we use like that to shut Concert down. It didn't come out.
The word, it didn't matter what we did or what we fought.
It was
at the end of the day,
it was gone.
If you've got a big brand new furnace at Teesside,
yes.
Said justify it. They're going to say we're going to take production from all of the places. Landwern suffered, all the other people. That is our big, it became a white elephant in the end. Mm-hmm. But you know, they had this idea of another one. I mean, I used to keep check on the old one. It was in a field covered in grass for years, and we sold that abroad, or British Steel sold that abroad in the end, because they didn't want it. But the idea was 2 massive big furnaces at Teesside, everybody else could go, and unfortunately, we went. And I mean, as I say, I visited customers, and they were devastated when the new Concert was closing. But again, it was said the other day, the steel strike, Bill Sears, we will blockade every port in the country to stop imports coming in. The man didn't realise how many ports there was in this country. He imported cheap steel. The strike got over. What was steel stockholders and them people doing? They were still important, even in 2000, when I retired, you went down steel stockholders, there was still important steel from abroad, and that all started or increased when the steel strike was on, and they never got the orders back because it was cheaper. It was delivered, I say, to Teesside, Tyneside, cheaper than we could roll it out to Jarrow Mill.